Hello everyone, welcome back to Conflict News 24. First of all, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video, because today's story is one of the most shocking and intense developments in the Middle East in recent history. What has unfolded in the last 24 hours is nothing short of a dramatic turning point, a moment that could reshape not only the balance of power in the region, but also the future of global stability. The story coming in right now is that Arab fighters, backed heavily by Qatar, have launched what they are calling a campaign of revenge against Israel, targeting first Jerusalem and then unleashing hypersonic missiles on Tel Aviv. This wave of strikes has shaken Israel to its core. At the center of this escalation is Qatar, a nation that has for years played a careful balancing act in the region, but now seems to have thrown all caution to the wind. In what Arab media are labeling as Qatar's revenge, dozens of Arab coalition fighters equipped with advanced weaponry, drones, and long-range missiles conducted coordinated strikes beginning late last night. Residents of Jerusalem reported hearing loud booms in the skies, air raid sirens going off without pause, and the terrifying sound of explosions echoing across the city. Within minutes of the first wave, Israeli defense systems were overwhelmed. Iron Dome interceptors lit up the night sky, trying to stop what appeared to be volleys of missiles and drones launched from multiple directions, but this time, something was different. Military analysts are pointing out that Israel faced not just the usual short-range rockets, but new hypersonic missile technology that appeared to cut through the defense systems with stunning speed and precision. Videos shared online, though not independently verified yet, show streaks of fire cutting across the skies above Tel Aviv before massive explosions lit up entire neighborhoods. For Israel, this is perhaps one of the most dangerous moments in decades. The scale and sophistication of these attacks raise pressing questions. How did Arab fighters with Qatar's backing manage to get access to hypersonic missiles? Where were these weapons sourced from? Some early speculation from defense experts suggests that Russia, Iran, or even North Korea may have been silent suppliers of this technology. But what is clear is that this strike has caught Israel off guard in a way not seen since the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Reports on the ground in Tel Aviv are painting a picture of chaos. Hospitals are flooded with injured civilians, emergency vehicles are rushing through the streets, and neighborhoods have been plunged into panic. Witnesses describe buildings shaking as if hit by earthquakes, glass windows shattered by shockwaves, and smoke rising into the night sky. In Jerusalem, the holy city already tense with recent clashes, panic spread as residents fled to bomb shelters, many of which were overcrowded and underprepared for the intensity of the strikes. Arab media outlets are celebrating the strikes as a moment of unity, calling it the day the Arab street stood with Jerusalem. In Doha, Qatari officials have remained defiant, refusing to comment officially on the military details, but stating that Israel's actions in Jerusalem had crossed all red lines. In an emergency statement broadcast on state television, a senior Qatari spokesperson said, "When our people are attacked, when the sanctity of Jerusalem is violated, we will not remain silent. Our response will be felt where it hurts the most." That response, as the world is seeing now, has been hypersonic missiles raining down on Israel's most critical cities. The international reaction has been swift. The United States has called the attacks an unacceptable escalation and pledged its ironclad support for Israel. President's advisors have been in constant meetings with the Pentagon, reportedly exploring options to deploy additional defense systems to Israel, including thawed batteries capable of intercepting faster, moving threats. At the same time, the European Union has urged both sides to de-escalate, though critics argue that such calls sound hollow when missiles are exploding in Tel Aviv. Russia, for its part, has called for restraint, but Western officials are already pointing fingers at Moscow, suspecting that Qatari fighters could not have acquired hypersonic missile technology without Russian support, or at least indirect involvement. Inside Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has declared a state of emergency, vowing to respond with overwhelming force. In a televised address he stated, This is not just an attack on Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. This is an attack on the very existence of Israel. Our enemies will regret this day, and they will pay a price they cannot imagine. Israeli defense forces have begun mobilizing reserves, while fighter jets have taken to the skies preparing for counterstrikes on targets in Gaza, southern Lebanon, and potentially even further afield in Qatar itself. Yet, military analysts warn that Israel now faces a dilemma. Striking back at Qatar could ignite a much broader regional war. Qatar is home to a large U.S. airbase, the Al Udeid base, which complicates any Israeli attempt to directly hit Qatari territory. At the same time, targeting Arab coalition fighters in places like Syria, Iraq, or Yemen risks drawing in Iran and potentially sparking a multi-front war. The situation, in short, is a powder keg. As the sun rose this morning over Tel Aviv, the scale of destruction became clearer. Footage shows entire apartment complexes destroyed, highways littered with burned-out cars, and thousands of residents still displaced. Emergency shelters are full, and the Israeli government has urged citizens to stock up on food and water, warning of possible power outages and more incoming attacks. Meanwhile, Arab media outlets are broadcasting celebratory footage, with fighters claiming victory and promising that this is only the beginning. Security experts are also noting the psychological impact of the use of hypersonic missiles. Unlike traditional rockets, these weapons travel at speeds of up to Mach 5 or more, giving defenders virtually no time to react. For Israeli civilians, the sense of vulnerability is unprecedented. Social media posts from Tel Aviv residents capture the fear, parents clutching their children in bomb shelters, videos of fiery streaks hitting buildings, and the desperate pleas of families searching for missing loved ones. The ripple effect of this crisis is already being felt beyond the Middle East. Oil prices surged overnight, with Brent crude jumping by nearly 12% in just hours, sending shockwaves through global markets. Airlines have suspended flights to Israel, with Ben Gurion Airport temporarily shut down after debris from missile strikes landed dangerously close to the runways. Tourism, already battered by years of conflict, has now been dealt another devastating blow. On the Arab street, however, the mood is defiant and celebratory. Crowds in parts of Gaza, Lebanon, and even Amman, Jordan, were seen waving flags and chanting slogans, praising Qatar for taking bold action. In Doha, large gatherings took place outside government buildings with chants of "For Jerusalem, for Al-Aqsa, we stand united." The symbolism of the attack, particularly after reports of clashes at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, has fueled this narrative of revenge and justice in the eyes of many across the Arab world. The Israeli military, though shaken, is not standing still. Within hours, fighter jets carried out retaliatory strikes on suspected launch sites in southern Lebanon and Gaza. Explosions were reported in the outskirts of Beirut, while Gaza City once again faced waves of bombings. Civilian casualties in these areas are already being reported, further inflaming anger across the region. Humanitarian organizations are warning that the death toll could rise dramatically if the cycle of retaliation continues unchecked. In Washington, the debate is intensifying. Lawmakers are calling on the administration to take immediate steps, with some urging direct military intervention to defend Israel, while others warn that a U.S. entanglement in another Middle Eastern war could be disastrous. The Pentagon has already dispatched additional naval assets to the eastern Mediterranean, including destroyers equipped with advanced missile defense systems. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies are racing to determine the exact origin of the hypersonic missiles and how Arab fighters came into possession of them. What makes this moment particularly alarming is the sense that a red line has been crossed. Hypersonic weapons have until now been largely confined to the arsenals of major powers like the U.S., Russia, and China. Their appearance in the hands of Arab fighters represents not just a technological leap, but also a dangerous precedent. Military experts warn that if these weapons proliferate further, the entire balance of power in the Middle East could shift overnight. The human toll, however, cannot be overlooked. In Tel Aviv's Ichilov hospital, doctors are working around the clock, treating victims of the blasts, many of them women and children. Heartbreaking stories are emerging, like that of a young family whose apartment was destroyed in the middle of the night, leaving 2 children critically injured. In Jerusalem, religious sites that have stood for centuries are now scarred by nearby explosions, with shattered stained glass windows and smoke damage marring sacred grounds. As the hours pass, the world is holding its breath. Diplomats at the United Nations are scrambling to arrange an emergency session, but divisions are already evident. Arab nations have signaled their support for Qatar's stance, while Western powers have lined up firmly behind Israel. China has called for dialogue, but privately analysts note that Beijing may see this as an opportunity to expand its influence in the region. The sense is that the Middle East once again stands on the brink of an all-out regional war. And so, as the story develops, one fact remains clear. The attacks on Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, carried out under the banner of Qatar's revenge, mark a watershed moment. Whether this will spiral into a larger conflict or force both sides to the negotiating table is still uncertain. But for the people living under the skies filled with missiles, the fear and devastation are real, immediate, and life-changing. This is Conflict News 24, bringing you continuous updates on this breaking story. Stay tuned, subscribe, and share our coverage as we follow every angle of this unprecedented escalation.